What's up, capoeiristas and no capoeiristas, or should we say Capoeira Nation? Welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. So on this episode, I have to break it down in two parts. Okay, this is going to be the first part with Professor Malandro. Okay, we had a great, awesome conversation. I learned so much, man. I learned so much. So stay until the end for you to learn more, way more about Capoeira Regional. I learned so much. During this first part, we talk about a little bit about Professor Malandro's Capoeira story, a little bit how he went transition from he started and how he finished it up. He finished transitioning to Capoeira Regional with Filhos y Bimba, with Mr. Neneo. When he went to visit Mr. Bimba's academy, feeling the energy where everybody move around and feeling the energy of capoeira and just be so open and so nice. We also talk about some of the traditions of Capoeira Regional. We also talk about the ways of Mestre Bimba teaching or his tradition of teaching. And we also talk about how Mestre Bimba did the bachizados, how he set up his students to the bachizado. It was an amazing conversation. This is going to be the part number 1. Next week is going to be part number 2. So stay tuned in for these next 2 episodes, this one and next, because the conversation was awesome. I highly recommend listening all the way to the end and next week, because he talks really cool information about Capoeira Regional. That way we can understand what we do today and some of the tradition of Capoeira Regional. Thank you so much for listening. Please share this episode with a friend and share and like it and subscribe. Okay, thank you so much. Tune in and listen it up. What's up, Capoeira Nation? Welcome back to the Capoeira Experience podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Keep training, keep loving capoeira as much as the capoeira community, and be part of this beautiful community and be all together training and always showing up to class. And today I have a very special guest, because I've been very interested of how pretty much our roots, how we started, how pretty much I like to understand where we came from, so that way we understand what we're doing now, right? And today I have a pleasure to introduce Professor Malandro. How are you doing, man? From Filhos y Bimba. How are you doing?
Doing all right, doing great. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for making the time to share your experience and your knowledge with the capoeira community and helping us to learn more from especially coming from directly from the lineage of Mestre Bimba. And
Right.
so for people to find you, to see your work, to see where you at and all that stuff, what is your social media so people can follow you?
Oh, for sure. People can find me. My website is capoeirabayarea.com. And then that is going to be the same thing as far as Instagram, have a YouTube channel as well. So, and Facebook.
Nice.
So Capoeira, all one word, Capoeira Bay Area. You Google that and you will find us, Filhos y Bimba.
Nice. Perfect. So if you're listening to this right now, go ahead and follow over there, because he has a really cool information there. I've seen videos of explaining the berimbau, how Mr. Bimba pretty much created his stuff. His information is really cool. Also for people to get to know you a little bit, very short introduction of yourself.
Oh, sure. Well, I started Capoeira back in 1997, way back in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan.
Nice.
And then decided to move to the California, Bay Area,
Okay.
specifically for capoeira.
That's so cool, man.
And yeah, I was around 19 years old, and
Oh, wow.
I just knew it. Maybe just at that age, a lot of other responsibilities didn't come into my head at the time, but I just felt like, hey, I want to get good at this, and I need to be where the master is.
Oh, yeah.
In Michigan, it was just kind of like a student that was teaching. So I decided to move to the Bay Area at 19. Been here ever since. I've lived in Brazil for about a year and traveled to Brazil annually because I feel like that's the Mecca, really absorb the culture.
So you immerse yourself
yes.
straight on the source. That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Life is dedicated to capoeira, but also like what benefits it can bring to people, because
for sure
there's a difference with like, oh, I'm just going to be hardcore training. And then like, okay, what life lessons have I experienced and how can I, transmit that information to the youth or anyone? Yeah. Like, how does capoeira make my life better besides just being a very physically capable capoeirista or just knowledgeable with like a great musician with capoeira? Like, how can I better people's lives? Because it has made my life better. So yeah, I've lived in Brazil, travel back and forth as much as I can. And then I bring my teacher, Mestre Nanel,
so cool,
to the States, like each year, God willing and everything. So, and yeah, for anyone who like knows me, I'm like all about the history, all about like the legacy, because I feel like the more knowledge you have about something, the more value you will have about it. And unfortunately, there hasn't been too much information on a grand scale in comparison to a lot of other segments of capoeira about capoeira regional. Like we know the name and we know Mestre Bimba, but not really is known about his work, about just like the legacy, about really what is capoeira regional and how it's not a style. You don't play capoeira regional. You can play capoeira to regional rhythms, but if you are like an angolero and then you're playing capoeira to a regional rhythm, are you playing regional or just playing your game to a rhythm that happens to be different than what you usually play? So hopefully what people would take away from this this interview, this podcast, this conversation, just to understand more that there's more that connects us in capoeira than separates us. And that people understand more about really what capoeira regional is, why it's about, and also what it isn't. Because a lot of times, since there's not that much information, there's also room for misinformation about what capoeira regional is. And people started to like fight, in the rodas and rolling on the ground and doing that. They were like, oh, that's capoeira regional. It's like, and unfortunately there wasn't a reference at the time. After Mestre Bimba died, to kind of clarify things. But fortunately, Mestre Nanel eventually stepped into that role. It was a process, but Mestre Nanel, his son, my teacher, stepped into that role. And now he's a reference, one of the references, not the only, but one of the references of Mestre Bimba's legacy in Capoeira Regional. And I'm just helping contribute and transmit the information as well.
Which is cool, because that was my goal once. I think we got in touch a few months back, and we never like actually set up the information. But when I started following you on Instagram, I was like, man, this is so cool, because I never got a chance to like I mentioned before, to talk to somebody that actually practice this from the source of Mestre Bimba, and it is really cool because we talk about the rhythms and the Mestre Bimba sequences and all stuff. Okay, but what is behind all those stuff, and why Mestre Bimba created those, and how Mestre Bimba created his graduation system and the school and all that. And I'm a very inquisitive person, so I'm always asking questions like how this works, why are we here, and why this was how it was on that time.
Yeah.
So and you mentioned that you switched to Mestre Bimba or Filhos de Bimba a while ago, right?
Yes. Yeah, I started with Capoeira Mandinga, which is
Okay.
a contemporary school from the lineage of Cordal de Ouro,
Okay.
under with Mestre Suassuna.
Okay.
Uh, and Mestre Suassuna is the one who actually gave me my name, Malandro.
Nice. Nice.
Um, and just at a certain point in my capoeira path, because I personally am Black African American, I was researching my own roots. And African Americans, our roots have been cut off for so long.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I wanted to research and see where my ancestry came. What was I connected to beyond slavery? Because usually with history, with Black people, it starts with slavery. Like there
Yeah.
was nothing
Yeah.
grandiose before that. So in my personal life, I did like DNA tests and things like that. And because capoeira is, my life also, I started to research the roots of capoeira.
Okay.
So when I was living in Brazil, I went to the Mecca, I went to Bahia, and I trained with different Angola mestres. I trained at Mestre João Pequeno's Academy while he was still alive.
Oh, so
I
cool.
trained at FICA in Salvador, Bahia. I
Nice.
trained with Mestre Jogos de Dentro.
Oh,
Um,
man, you
also,
train with a lot of like superstars in capoeira, man.
yeah.
So cool.
I mean, fortunately, like they're just like at the bar, just having a beer, and then they'll go like teach class. So they're just like hanging out, and you're just walking down the street and like seeing these really famous, amazing, capoeiristas. And I'm highlighting the different segments, like because I don't like to say styles, because when we say styles, that means like everyone plays exactly the same, and there's no creativity. But I say like different lineages, different styles, and things like that.
I like it.
But the reason why I'm pointing out Angola is so that it's conveyed that I'm not trying to promote one particular type of capoeira. I'm going to speak on regional and where it comes from, but I'm also solidifying the fact that I research capoeira as a whole. I'm a capoeira nerd, so I'm not here to just be like regional is the best. No.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything is connected. Everything has similarities, and there's different things that make it unique. Not different, but just unique.
Yeah.
So eventually, also, I wanted to search Mestre Nenel, who's the son of Mestre Bimba, because I've seen him on various documentaries. My favorite capoeira documentary is Capoeiragem na Bahia, and also countless capoeira magazines. So I had a chance to go to Mestre Nenel's Academy in the Pelourinho, and play in the roda and take some classes. And I played in the roda first. Like my first experience with capoeira regional in Bahia was the roda, and it was just different from what I expected and what was told to me. Like regional is like more fast, upright, more aggressive, flips and stuff. And I didn't see any of that. They played very close. Like all their movements had an objective and very efficient.
Okay, with a purpose, right?
Say again.
With a purpose.
Yeah.
It's not just kick to kick. Yeah.
Yeah, just like in the air and things like that. But it wasn't like aggressive or anything like that. I thought I was going to get punched, but it was nothing like that. But also the music was very soulful. So even when it was quote unquote like fast, like Samba to Grande, there was this like swag, to it. There was this like, bounce to it. And the spectators, there was a bench for people just to watch, and even they would just be like, kind of swaying back and forth, and then like nothing. So it was very soulful. I use that term. See, like I'm getting like goosebumps. Just
That's
like
so cool, man. Yeah. Which sorry to interrupt, and we'll continue that part. So you went to a school where I've seen the Capoeira Iluminada a few times.
Yes.
And so you were to the school where Mestre Nenel is with it. I believe he has 3 circles, right?
Yeah. Yes. With a cobblestone ground. Yes.
That's so cool, man. I bet the energy was like legit.
Very, yeah. And like it so soulful. The students themselves were like, it was almost like a celebration. Like, some holidays, people enjoy themselves, they sing, they clap, but them, they were like, there was like You know, it's like, and they were just having fun while like kicking and giving people hostetas and stuff.
So everybody was just enjoying themselves and having fun. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was a great experience. So then that kind of solidified like, hey, I need to research this more. And it wasn't like immediate I'm going to join Filhos de Bimba, but from there I was like, I'm going to stay connected to them. So I stayed connected to Mestre Nenel and also to Mestre Jogos de Dentro because I enjoyed how he plays, like this really tall guy, but then he would be able to shrink and play Capoeira Angola and not use his size to like force or dominate the game. Because I just wanted to be like a chameleon. So I was like, okay, you know, I'm gonna, when the berimbau plays, and that was another thing with the contemporaneous, like, oh, whatever the berimbau plays, then we just play. But there wasn't a reference to be like, okay, here's the foundation, here's the etiquette, here's what you do and don't do. Specifically with Capoeira Regional, with Angola, it was a little bit easier because we had so many references like Mestre Cobra Massa, Mestre Moraes, you know, so many videos on VHS, right?
Yeah. When we started, it was on VHS, yeah.
Yeah, so many visual references at least, you know, but with Capoeira Regional, it was next to none. It was like, you know, if you saw some clips from Capoeira Regional Bahia, if you saw some clips from Mestre Bimba Iluminada, but even before that, it was just like Vai de Ação, you know, the black and white one. And then, you know, not much else. Like you can count on like 3 fingers how much like footage of like what Capoeira Regional, you know, from Mestre Bimba, you know, as a reference.
Yeah. And it loses with the time because, and then it's like, so some people start passing the information and then some people adapt the information to them, and then eventually, who knows, like what get lost during all these conversations.
Yeah, Mestre João Pequeno is famous for quoting that Capoeira Regional went to the grave with Mestre Bimba.
Oh wow!
Because and Mestre Nenel says like, you know, he wasn't upset with that phrase because it was very true at the time.
Yeah.
Because once Mestre Bimba passed away, he didn't groom anyone to be a student. He didn't groom anyone to teach. He just groomed people to be capoeiristas and better human beings, you know. So once he passed away in poverty, unfortunately, there was no one ready to kind of like take over the mantle. Like even Mestre Nenel went through a certain phase of like, okay, I'm going to use 3 birimbaus and an atabaki. Okay, I'm going to use belts. And it didn't work for him. So he went through a process, which I really admire, to be like, okay, I feel like this is the calling that I have, like to just preserve my father's work as best I can with respect, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And so once you came back to the US and you pretty much went formal under Filhos de Bimba, so you started like teaching all the methodologies and the berimbau history and all that stuff. So how would you break down the methodology of Mr. Bimba?
The methodology of Mr. Bimba is really cool because it's kind of, there's structure balanced with freedom.
So you cool.
know, so for example, there's some clear-cut things as far as the methodology. You hold the hands of a beginner and teach them how to jingle by holding their hands. Then also you teach all the basic, you know, kicks and escapes and things like that. But a student, one thing that's important, I feel, to share is the student works with the sequencia, and say just sequencia singular. It's not sequencias, but the sequencia has 8 parts. So the student learns the sequencia, and then once they don't have to have it perfect, but after a few classes, once they have like it down, then they have a batizado.
Oh, cool.
So the batizado that was created by Mestre Bimba is just the first time that a student plays to the sound of the berimbau. no clapping, no singing,
Oh.
to the actual live, berimbau. Because nowadays we have like iPods and Bluetooth and things like that.
Yeah.
And I doubt in Master Bimba's time somebody put on the record,
Yeah.
while they're training.
Let's go to play number 5.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a batizado.
Okay.
We used to say, você vai entrar no aço, or você vai cair no aço, gonna enter the steel, so to speak. So the beginner will play with an advanced student who knows that this beginner has limited vocabulary, because the sequencia is the ABCs of Capoeira Regional.
Okay.
So it's not a tradition for the student to be taken down. It's not a tradition for the student to get their butt kicked and, thrown against the wall and stuff that you see in some rodas.
Yeah.
Because the student hasn't even learned how to fall yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think that's another point with Capoeira Regional, is that the more advanced student is responsible for the physical and moral integrity of the more beginner. And that also goes with some of the principles of Capoeira Regional, to obey the rhythm of the berimbau. All your movements need to have an objective.
Okay.
To keep one base on the ground. So like all of the back alucimao and mortals and things, that doesn't have anything to do with the game of Capoeira Regional.
Okay.
Play close to your partner. Always jinga, and always esquiva.
Nice.
To respect when your partner is defenseless, and take care of your partner's moral and physical integrity. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't give them a cabeçada or a rasteira or a vingativa, but it's never done to demoralize the other person, and it's never done to injure the other person, because if bumps and bruises and accidents happen, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Sport, but it's the intent behind it is never to hurt the other person to where they can't play capoeira with you anymore.
Yeah, or they're afraid to play it again, and right. Especially beginners.
Exactly, and I feel like that's a very important thing to highlight with the principles of Capoeira Regional, because again, with the misinformation, like, oh, Capoeira Regional is more aggressive, and it's not that. Yeah.
Because we used to see, I think there's a mixed in between the what is the Capoeira Regional and the Capoeira Contemporánea, right? Where the adaptation of like more fast movement, more aggressive movement, more the takedowns are more like, I'm gonna take you down instead of like I'm gonna take you down for just to have fun, or for you to learn how to fall. And then it's a lot of behind all those adaptations from or evolution. I don't think evolution would be the right way to say it, but the adaptation to or the changes that Capoeira went through.
And I think also with Capoeira Regional, because Mestre Bimba himself had a specific vision for his representation of Capoeira, because even in the same Capoeira schools, like groups, different mestres and in different teachers have a certain way that they run their rodas, or a certain way that they run their classes, or a certain way that they run their promotions, even within the same school. So that's why you get such different personalities. Like some people in the same school would be like, I'm a little bit like, just place it. You don't need to take the other person. And other people, because of what they've been through or what their personality, like, no, you need to be ready to take the person down, at any time, because if you don't, then other people won't respect, or people won't see. Yeah. And the last thing you want is to mark a takedown. The person didn't register, and then they take you down because you held it, So everything has like maybe a specific point of view. It's not like this person is just aggressive, but, in their mind, they have a specific reason why they do this way. And Mestre Bimba is no different from any other teacher. For example, like with Mestre João Pequeno and João Grande, they're both famous students of Mestre Pastinha, but their berimbau setup is totally different. Like João Pequeno has his berimbaus, I think on the far left, and then Mestre João Grande has his berimbaus like in the middle, with the different instruments. So also I bring that up because Angola is considered like the more traditional, but then people decide what their traditions are in their school, you know.
Yeah.
But
I remember. I remember Mestre Tony Vargas, where he mentioned on one of his songs that capoeira has many truth. That like nobody hold the real truth on their hands, and
exactly.
I think is really powerful. Like, 'cause that goes across the entire capoeira community.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. So that's more or less like the methodology. Like the student has the batizado.
Nice.
Then continue training. Then we have what's called a festa de batizado, and that's where it's just the roda, and eventually the student who doesn't have a nome de guerra or a nickname, that's when they receive their nickname. So it won't be like just random, like at a restaurant or just hanging out after class. Oh, you like avocados? We're going to call you Abacachi. Or whatever thing, like, oh, your shirt's red, so we're going to call you Red Shirt, or things like that. Like there's a ceremony where the person receives their nickname, and generally we try to give nicknames that don't tease or make the person feel bad about it. We try to give nicknames that they feel proud
for
of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Agree with that.
Yeah, and then you have a formatura. And then you receive the lenços. So Mestre Bimba didn't create like a belt system. I'm trying to think of all like the misinformation. He didn't create a belt system. He didn't create like capoeira uniforms. The only time really when the students wore white were these ceremonies where they would or performances. That was it. Like when you train, you just trained in your street clothes.
Okay.
That's also why people trained like barefoot, because at that time there weren't training shoes. Like they had their work shoes, and then they didn't want to bring in the dirt from outside. So then you would just train barefoot,
Oh, okay, cool.
So the white uniforms happened because of, just to look presentable when doing a demonstration, or, your Sunday best when there's a ceremony when you receive your scarf at your formatura, or if you complete other courses.
Okay.
So if you complete, or when you complete the basic course, you receive a blue scarf. When you complete the first specialization course, that's when you get jumped in the forest and in the emboscada.
Okay.
That's when you receive your red scarf. When you complete the weapons defense course, that's when you receive your yellow scarf. And then when you have a master like the berimbau, running the roda, and you know how to transmit the legacy of Mestre Bimba, then that's when you receive your white scarf.
Oh, cool. Okay. I was about to ask you. Yes. So it's about like 4 levels.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. I like that. I like that. Thank you so much. This was the first part of this interview. Next week will be the part number 2, where we talk way more about Capoeira Regional from Filhos de Bimba with Professor Malandro. Okay, stay tuned for the next week episode to learn more about Capoeira Regional. All right, thank you so much. Peace out. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for getting this far. Remember, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is going to help us and help me to get bigger numbers and bigger subscribers so we can give more information. Okay, please, if you're listening, I know you're listening, I know you're watching, please give me a subscribe, give me a like. Okay, I know you're watching right here or listening. All right, have an amazing day. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening every single episode, especially the episode we just did. All right, thank you so much. Peace.